What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Chin here again today from the Nothing But Facts podcast. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday. I hope you guys watched my video yesterday talking about, of course, James Franklin getting fired. We also broke down some of those great games we saw this weekend: Alabama versus Mizzou, USC versus Michigan, as well as others. Today, I think we're going to go and dive a little bit more deeper into this whole James Franklin situation, maybe talk about some potential replacements for him at Penn State. Also, we are also going to talk about Mike Norvell, the Florida State situation. What is going on in Tallahassee? Are things going to change? Are we going to see a change in leadership? We'll break all those things down in this episode today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I think this has been such an interesting college football season. It's been so, I thought last year was lit, right, with the first ever 12-team playoff, but I think this year is just every week is something new. And we saw it this week with the firing of head coach James Franklin. I want to start from the bottom up and work our way through this list. Potential candidates who they think are good fits for this Penn State job. I think this is a really good job. There is a tweet out there that talks about all the different Power 5 jobs, academic outlook, NIL, facilities, and Penn State had an A- from what I remember. So let's go ahead and talk about this list. We have first UNLV coach Dan Mullen, who is having great success in his first year at UNLV. They are 6-0 for the first time since the 1950s. And this guy has been successful in the collegiate level. He was formerly, before he, was a well-known guy in the business, he was the offensive coordinator, at Florida under Urban Meyer. He coached Tim Tebow. He coached Dak Prescott. And this is a really interesting hire. I think this is a long shot. I think Dan Mullen is a guy who is an SEC guy. I don't see him leaving for a Big Ten team. And I think what he's trying to build in Las Vegas, essentially at UNLV, making them the best group of 5 team in the country, I think he likes the situation, right? And we also have to think about it from an NIL perspective. Tim Fertitta, who happens to be a major donor for UNLV athletics, he's given Dan Mullen a good amount of change to make sure that they can compete in the group of 5 and be the most dominant team in the Mountain West. That's a big reason into why, they are where they are, 6-0. While, things didn't end as bright and as positive as they should at Florida, this man, he did a really good job at Florida, and clearly the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? You got rid of Dan Mullen and you brought in Billy Napier, which just hasn't worked out. But I think this is a long shot. I think Penn State's going to see how the season plays out at UNLV and see if Dan Mullen, does he even want this job? Like I said, there are going to be some SEC jobs open. Arkansas is open right now. Is that a job that Dan Mullen potentially might look at? So we'll see what happens. Is there reuniting him with Florida? We see some crazy things happen in college football, but we'll see what happens. Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee, I think this was a really good. I like this pick. I like Clark Lee. What he's been able to do at Vanderbilt, he's been able to win at Vandy, something that's hard to do, right? The last person we saw win that at Vandy was James Franklin. So, they went 6-6 last year, or 7-6 last year, or 6-7, whatever the case may be, was last year, and they're ranked in the top 25 this year. So I like Clark Lee. He was a former defensive coordinator for Notre Dame, and they are really looking for their first winning season. Yeah, I think, 1 year after delivering their first winning season, blah, blah, blah. So I think Clark Lee is an interesting name to watch. What they've been able to do at Vanderbilt, their identity, their plan in going into the transfer portal, knowing that they have to go outside of the norm in order to compete in the SEC. I like Clark Lee, and I think if you give him a Penn State program, I think they're going to be a physical, a very physical, well-coached football team, something we see happening right now at Vanderbilt. Let's move right along. We have Kansas coach Lance Leopold. Kansas has really had a resurrection since he's been around as the head coach at Kansas. He's done a great job. He's done a great job. I think number one in terms of recruiting, right? We saw Jalen Daniels. He's one of the most all-time winning players in Kansas history. And that was a major recruit. He was a major blueprint into that Kansas rebuild, right? They got a new stadium. They've done a great job in the transfer portal, not just getting any sort of guys, but getting guys that fit what Lance Leopold wants to build there in Lawrence. I would be surprised if Lance Leopold leaves the situation at Kansas, because there are a lot more knowns at Kansas right now than there are at Penn State, right? You just finished almost a $700 million renovation of your football stadium. You have a football only facility. You're adding new facilities in Lawrence. I think the situation in Kansas is a lot more stable, and there's a lot more upside for him to potentially make a better name for himself at Kansas than I think at Penn State. And I think he likes where he is at Kansas, because the Big 12 is one of the conferences I think each and every year we could have a new champion, right? Last year was Arizona State. Arizona State right now is 4-2. So I don't know if Coach Leopold wants to leave that and go to the Big Ten, where you are going to play Oregon, you're going to play Indiana, you're going to play Michigan, and a team like the Ohio State. So I think Lance Leopold, we'll see how the season plays out too for Kansas. I think they're good, but I don't know if Lance Leopold is sort of the right guy for this Penn State job. Next, we have a guy who is familiar with the Penn State locker room. He's familiar with the Penn State program. That's current head coach at Duke University, Manny Diaz. He was a former Penn State defensive assistant in the late 2010s. And I remember him being part of some really good defenses at Penn State. So for him to leave Duke, and not saying Duke is a bad job, right? For what he's done at Duke, they've done a really good job. Him and his staff have done an outstanding job at Duke. But I could see Manny Diaz leave Duke to go to Penn State, right? It's a more high-profile job. You have a guy who understands the culture at Penn State. He's worked there before as an assistant, understands the Big Ten, comes from a Power 4 conference in the ACC, and is a defensive-minded coach, great recruiter. All these things check out the box for a guy like Manny Diaz. So I would, this is if you had a list, right, I think Manny Diaz is a name I'm putting in that list. I'm putting Clark Lee, I'm putting Manny Diaz in it. I think those are some reasonable prospects for this job. I really like Manny Diaz, especially what he's been able to do at Duke. Like I said before, just from a talent perspective, he's been able to revitalize that Duke football team, right? I remember when Mike Elko, of course, Mike Elko was there. I remember when they had David Cutcliffe at Duke. These two guys, they've really, helped Manny Diaz continue that success at Duke. But I think what Manny Diaz has done, he's really put Duke in a really good position in the ACC, and their potential, they could even have potential to win the ACC this year. So that's how good Duke is with Coach Manny Diaz. So that's definitely a great prospect. If I'm the Penn State brass, I'm definitely looking at Coach Manny Diaz. This is another one I really like. Head coach of Iowa State, Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell has done an outstanding job at Iowa State, a tough place to win, right? It's Iowa State, and he's just consistently piled up winning seasons, 10-win seasons, and he wins bowl games. He's sending guys to the NFL. This guy, I think, develops players better with what he's given than maybe any other coach in America. What Matt Campbell is able to do, his recruiting style, it's really good to see. Like I really like Matt Campbell. Now, essentially, again, right? This is a guy who interviewed last year for the New York Jets situation. I'm a New York Jets fan. He interviewed for that New York Jets job. So this is a name I would definitely be looking at. Matt Campbell is a name that if I am a Penn State fan, you're doing your digging on him. This is a guy who wins, right? He won at Toledo. I believe that's where he was at before he got to Iowa State. And he's, gone to, he's been really successful at Iowa State. I think he was at Toledo. I think Matt Campbell was at Toledo. Yep, he was at Toledo. He was at Toledo before he got to Iowa State. Great success for this guy, and I really like him. I really like him. This guy consistently finishes at the top of the Big 12, and I think this is a great hire if you do it. I think this is a guy who will 100% change the narrative around Penn State football. He would, because from a resource standpoint, from an NIL standpoint, from a talent standpoint, I mean, this is unfamiliar territories for Matt Campbell. He's never had anything like this. I mean, just given if Penn State were to move forward, never had a chance like this, never been around a program like Penn State, but we'll see what happens. I think that's a great pickup for Penn State if you get a coach like Matt Campbell. We have Indiana coach Curt Cinetti. Curt Cinetti is redefining the odds consistently at Indiana. He's having a fantastic 2-year run so far. They've been successful. I mean, they're just off to a beautiful start. I mean, I don't even know the words to put. He's just doing everything he can to raise that level of awareness for that Indiana brand. I was reading an article last year about Big Ten fundraising for coaches, football coaches. Indiana was in the top 3. I think they raised about $18 million last year from fundraising, and Curt Cinetti had to be a big part with it. Now, again, the Penn State job, right? It's a job where I think you have to understand what comes with it. You're going to understand that you're going into one of the most potentially a toxic fan base. You're going into unknowns. You're going into some certain knowns at this point. The certain knowns are we've lost to Oregon, we've lost to Penn State, and we've lost to Michigan a couple times. Those are the games that we've lost. Curt Cinetti, I think, at Penn State would be a home run hire. And I think that's your super, super long shot. I don't know how much you have to move him or sway him for him to leave Indiana. Because the situation right now in Indiana, it's unfamiliar territory. This football program at Indiana has never had this success. So is he going to leave what he's building right now to try and, I guess, build back up something at Penn State that is fans maybe are looking at it as something that is something not achievable for Curt Cinetti in his tenure at Penn State? Or does he look at it and say, hey, you know what? I think I'm good with here at Indiana. I like where I'm at, right? We play our 3 super easy non-conference games and we go into our Big Ten games. I think he's good at Indiana. I don't know if he's going to leave Indiana to go to Penn State, but we'll see what happens. And the number 1 name on this list right now, Nebraska head coach Matt Rhule. Right there, you see it right there. Definition of a program builder. This guy did it at Temple. This guy did it at Baylor. And what he is going to do is find ways to eliminate those little things. Those little things that Penn State wasn't doing before, the play calling stuff, the mental blunders. He is going to target those things and eliminate the root causes of those. That is what Matt Rhule does. He's now doing it at Nebraska. Year 3 at Nebraska, and they are an impressive team. They're not perfect. They're not the greatest Nebraska team. I've seen some really good Nebraska teams. Right, with when Bo Pelini was head coach at Nebraska, I've seen some good Nebraska teams. But what they are right now, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. And I think Matt Rule, if he goes to Penn State, I don't know if he's not going to bring some Louis V back. I don't know if he's not. I don't know if he will not bring that Ferrari named Dylan Raiola. Because if you're looking at that Penn State roster right now, going into next year, they fully believe this is going to be a rebuild. They fully believe 2026 is going to be a rebuild. But with Matt Rule, I expect if he leaves Nebraska, he is going to bring some Louis V with him. He will. I think that Dylan Raiola and Matt Rule connection is very deep. I think it's very deep, and I could see Dylan Raiola leaving Nebraska to go to Penn State. But I don't know. Again, Nebraska is a fantastic job. Is it Penn State? No. Is it a job that is really good? Yeah. And I think that's something that we're going to see nowadays. I think we're going to see coaches not jump for those Power 5 jobs. I think we're going to see coaches who are winning, who are comfortable, just say, hey, man, sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I'm good. I'm good here at James Madison. I'm good here at New Mexico State. Just for example, I'm good here at Arkansas State. I'm good here at Eastern Michigan. I'm good here at Buffalo. I'm good here at UMass. I don't want to go to Cal. I don't want to go to Florida. I don't want to go to LSU. I'm good here because there's a pressure, there's an expectation, and sometimes there's an unreasonable expectation from the fan base for these coaches in year one. But that's the list. That's the list of potential head coach candidates for Penn State football. I think this is going to take a long time. I think we won't hear anything about this maybe until the end of November, middle of December, first week of January. I think they will have their guy. I believe by the first week of January, I believe Penn State will have their head coach. We'll see what happens. I want to talk on Florida State and Mike Norvell. What is going on at Florida State? What is going on with Mike Norvell? What is going on? This guy's head is making me making me so upset. What is going on at Florida State? Mike Norvell is not succeeding at Florida State. And what are the things about it? What is going on at Florida State? What's happening with Mike Norvell? This Mike Norvell right here, if you don't know, he has not been the most successful man at Florida State. There's some people that want him gone. I'm not going to say I want him gone. I'm not going to say that. But we have to understand this is a results-driven business. Results matter, right? Results matter. And every year, you get 12 games. And of course, not all 12 games are graded the same. Some games are graded higher than others. Some losses mean more than others. At the end of the day, we need to see something tangible, whether we're building toward an identity, whether we're trying to improve offensively. We need to be building towards something. And I don't know if Mike Norvell has been putting FSU in the position to build toward anything. You look at the recruiting that Mike Norvell has done at Florida State. It's not been the best. It's not been the best. And it's shown. It's shown. It's shown on the football field, and it's showing in a different couple of ways. Now we had a number 6 ranked transfer portal class and a top 25 overall class altogether. But I think what pains me the most is how many quarterbacks Mike Norvell has whiffed on. Whether it's from recruiting, whether it's from the transfer portal, there have been some guys who he has whiffed on. This is the recruiting class from this year. Pretty good class on paper, but it hasn't lived up to what we wanted. It hasn't lived up. It hasn't lived up to it. There have been so many broken plays on offense, on defense. Again, the quarterback position seems to be a problem. There is no consistency at that position. I mean, where is this program heading? Where is the program heading? Where is the program heading? I think there's a lot of people with those questions. Where is this program heading? Because you can look at Miami, you can look at SMU, you can look at Clemson. Those guys get their players and build from within. And they're going to sometimes get a couple of transfer players. I mean, Clemson on the bottom end of that. But Miami has shown they're recruiting guys, Ruben Bain, Akeem Mesidor, those guys that were not from the transfer portal. Ty Simpson, not from the transfer portal. So I think Mike Norvell needs to look himself in the mirror and ask himself, what does he want this football team to be? I have no idea. I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you what the identity of this football team is. I can't. Is it that they want to be a run-first football team? Is it that they want to be a team that is physical? I don't know. I am still trying to understand where this team is. Defense has been a problem. 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 And it's showing. It's showing. I don't know why we can't see the defensive numbers here. That's odd. But you look at the schedule, on the cross-country flight, on the road against Stanford, Wake Forest, at Clemson. I mean, you need to get to 3 wins. You need to find 3 wins here to get bowl eligible. Like there needs to be 3 wins here for you to get bowl eligible. And I mean, I would hope Stanford, I would hope Virginia Tech, and I would hope North Carolina State, because North Carolina State has been spiraling. So we'll see how the season plays out. But again, I question, what is Florida State building toward? Right? We know Miami, when they were getting blitzed last year on offense, Mario Cristobal knew, he said, man, we need to get a new DC. They got Corey Heatherman, made him one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. And Miami's ranked number 2 in the country right now. I can't tell you what Florida State is building toward. I can't tell you. I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't tell you. We'll see what happens. Keep liking, keep commenting, keep sharing. Love you guys. God bless. Peace.